Hello everyone and welcome back to Katha by Shraddha. मेरे साथ आओ मेरे दोस्तों एक किस्सा सुनो. मेरे साथ आओ मेरे दोस्तों एक किस्सा सुनो. Let's listen to a story. This story is called This is the Way. And it's a very special story because I'm doing this story on the request of a dear friend called Abhishek Iyer. Now, recently when I met Abhishek, he narrated a story from his childhood and I was very surprised because it was a story that I had heard in my childhood and had completely forgotten about until he narrated it. So I'm very happy to bring you This is the Way on KBS. It starts, of course, once upon a time, a very long time ago, in India, there was a royal problem. Now, there was a king that ruled over the plentiful and prosperous lands of India. Yes, you heard correctly, plentiful and prosperous. So that means the economy was not the royal problem. The king himself was wise beyond his years and he ruled his people pretty fairly. He was an understanding king and a kind king. So the king himself was not the royal problem. The king had a queen and the queen was very gracious and very kind to the people and she was a wonderful sathi to the king, meaning friend and comrade and ally. So the queen was not the problem. In those ancient times, the earth was much safer from industrial onslaught. So the rains came on time, the monsoons made their presence felt regularly, the temperatures did not vary widely. So climate change was not the royal problem either. In fact, things were so great that there may not even be a story here. Because how can you have a story without a problem, right? But fear not. This is a story and there was indeed a royal problem. The king and the queen had a prince. Now mind you, their son the prince, he himself was not the royal problem, but his habit of eating a lot, and I mean a lot of sweets, of mithai, that was becoming quite the large problem. And like all conscientious and sensible parents would, the king and the queen were very worried about their son, about their child, and about his health. The prince himself understood that this was really a problem, but he just was addicted to sweets. He was addicted to the mithai and he just couldn't stop eating. And to make matters worse, the janta, which is the common people, they knew that their prince loved mithai. So they kept bringing gifts and bringing gifts to the royal court, and the royal court was teeming with boxes of mithai. What to do? It was a real royal problem. One day, the king heard about this wise acharya, meaning spiritual guru, who lived deep in the forest far away. And he heard that this acharya could perform miracles and that people came to him from all over India with their problems and that he helped them solve their problems. And suddenly, the king found hope in his heart. So he told the queen all about this acharya and they got very excited and said, let's go meet this acharya. So the king, the queen and the prince traveled far away into the forest, and into the forest to meet the acharya. And it took them a really long time. It took them a fortnight to get there because it was a long way away. They got lost, went round in circles, but eventually they got to the acharya's little cottage home or kutir. And there they found the acharya and the king said, "Oh, great one, great acharya, we have come to you with a royal problem. I have great hopes and great expectations that you can help us, O Acharya. This is my son, the prince, and he cannot stop eating mithai, no matter how much he tries. He is addicted to sweets, O great one. Please, can you help him? Help him. Maybe your words, your wise words and your advice and your guidance will show him the way. Please, Acharya, help us, help us. And the Acharya listened and he smiled at the king and he said, "O king, I will help you, but you need to come back to me after 14 days. What could the king do? So he left with his queen and the prince, and they went all outside the forest, trudged out of the forest, and they decided to stay at the edge of the forest in a little village for those 14 days. Now, mind you, it was not easy. Remember, these were royals. They were used to palaces and all the fineries and all the comforts of life. They were not used to a simple life in the village. But hope that their problem would be resolved, hope gave them strength, and they stuck at it for 14 days. And on the morning that 14th day dawned, they were ready in a jiffy and they trudged back into the forest all the way to the Acharya's kutir. And they found the Acharya beneath a grand old banyan tree, peacefully sitting and meditating. And they respectfully sat down and waited silently for him to finish his meditation. The Acharya finished meditating and he opened his eyes and he smiled at the prince, and then he beckoned him to come closer to him. So the prince came closer to him and sat down right next to the Acharya beneath that grand old banyan tree. And the Acharya turned to him and he said, "O prince, it is not good to eat so many sweets. You should control how many sweets, how many mithais you eat. It is better for your health if you do so." And that was it. With that, he gestured to the royals to leave. And the king was astounded, and the queen was shocked. Was that all? Was that seriously all the Acharya was going to say? Just those 2-3 sentences of advice? No miracle? No magic? But what could they do? They had to follow. But the prince suddenly had a gleam in his eye and a smile, a very determined smile on his face. It was as if he was suffused with new energy and new determination. And they all went back to the palace, to the royal palace. And to everyone's amazement, since that day, the prince did not eat more than 1 or 2 pieces of mithai. He ate 1 or 2 pieces, but he could then control himself, and he stopped and he said, "Okay, no more. I will have my mithai tomorrow now." And everybody was shocked but happy. The royal problem seemed to be solved. The king and the queen were ecstatic and overjoyed at this, and with their joy, they decided to distribute celebratory mithai throughout the kingdom. And there the story would have ended. But suddenly, there was a new royal problem. A tiny one, but a royal problem nevertheless. You see, now the king was very disturbed. He kept thinking that I am the king of this kingdom, and I went all that way into the forest to meet the Acharya, and he made me wait in that village with my queen and the prince to stay in that village environment for 14 days. When all he did was give some advice to the prince after the 14th day. Could he not have done that on the first day? Why make us wait? I'm such an important person and I had to wait for such a long time for such a simple solution. And this question niggled him, and really he got to spend some sleepless nights after that. He just couldn't understand why the Acharya had behaved the way he had. So he finally decided, because it was rankling him, so he finally decided, I'm going to go to the forest, back to the forest, and just ask the Acharya to explain his behavior. And maybe that will give me some relief. So back went the king to the Acharya's kutir. And he asked the Acharya this very same question. He posed this question to him. And the Acharya smiled and said, "O king, I did not mean to trouble you. I did not mean to give you sleepless nights. And I certainly did not want to make you uncomfortable by asking you to come back later. But you see, I could not have given the prince that advice on that first day, because I myself was addicted to sweets. How could I tell the prince to stop eating sweets? I needed those 14 days to practice what I wanted to preach to him. This is the only way." And hearing that, the king bowed deep and low to the Acharya's wisdom of teaching through action. I hope you enjoyed the story, This is the Way. And I'd like to thank Abhishek again for bringing the story back into my life and into yours. Don't forget to check out Abhishek's own YouTube channel. He has stories that are from his own life, true stories, slice of life kind of stories. And they're wonderful short nuggets that you can walk away with a new thought in your heart. So be sure to check it out. His channel link is in the description below as well as linked up top. Thank you for watching and spending some time with Katha by Shraddha. Bye.